All right, folks, we have all burned this oil and then some. I don't know how long this is going to take us, but we do have things that we must get done tonight, so let us continue to plow forward.
Excuse me, Chair, are we allowing public comment, or do we decide to wait?
Are we skipping up?
Well, I haven't even brought up the next issue yet, so.
Oh, I thought we were gonna do it
Full
on
H.
all of the issues, so that the people waiting to address a specific issue could go home.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. So
Okay.
what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about what absolutely must positively get done and how, what is on the grander scale, what is quicker, and whatnot. So, the next item per the agenda is the zoning ordinance amendment for planned unit developments. Now, is this a 5-minute issue, or is this going to be an hour-long issue?
Mr. Chair, my presentation will probably be 3 minutes, and I'm pretty much just saying, hey, do we want to do this or not?
Okay.
And as far as council discussion, that would be up to you, but I do think we could move through it quickly.
All right.
It's either do you like it or do you not?
Let's burn it off.
Did we want to take public comments on the Northeast District now, though, so that people could go home with
these
their
three
questions?
Well, okay, then let's get to that. So, items then D, E, F, and G are all PUDs. H is the district guideline. Who do we all have? We have these folks and then Mr. Howell. Well, why don't we go right to H right now?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Anybody object to that? Okay.
For public comment or for the presentation, Mr. Chair?
Right now, we'll do public comment. Because this is not a, okay, so the Northeast District is not a public hearing. This is a discussion for the Planning Commission to get familiar with the district, and the idea here is that we'll discuss things, we'll take input from us, input from people in the audience and online. Those comments and whatnot will go to, the staff will take that, and they will incorporate that into a final proposal that will meet, and I say final, it'll be the document that comes to us next month for a formal public hearing. And at that point, again, we can still continue to recommend to the city council changes, and we'll do so. So we basically get 2 swings at this baseball, and tonight's the first pitch. And I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of outside comment. I don't know how many people might be online, but why don't we start with the folks in-house first? So, thank you patiently, for waiting so patiently. I never would have guessed it would have taken this long to get, to this point, so my apologies. Actually, we moved something around so that we could avoid this, and it backfired on me, so I apologize. So if you would like to, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and
My name is Dan Cagley, and I'm at 19450 County Road 30. And the house next, Oswald Farm,
the what?
Oswald Farm,
The yellow barn.
halfway between Mama G's and 116, north side of the road.
Oh, yeah,
There's the house.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We're the house.
okay,
Flag lot.
yeah.
My first exposure to this development plan was at March 15th at the church. I wasn't able to really see what was going on, so I picked up the literature on it, and I had some questions. I didn't realize that we have another meeting before everything is going to come down on this.
Oh my, so you could have gone home and
It's been,
Informative?
educational?
absolutely.
Hey, how about entertaining?
I guess there's a reason I don't want to live in town. to be honest with you. That's why I lived in St. Louis Park, that's why I got the hell out of there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my daughter lives in St. Paul, and she wants to buy my house, because she's lived there 5 years, and I won't go into why, but she wants the HE double hockey sticks out of there. Yep.
But I think maybe my path forward here should probably be to get with Natalie and answer some of the answers to the questions. It was basically, I had some questions so I come to a better understanding. I've talked some with Dean, and I've got some answers there, but I don't know that I should take up your time in doing that.
If I may offer a suggestion, even though I know that there might not be any accounting for it, but there was a survey that was put out that talked about streetscapes and designs and architecture stuff. Did you have a chance to?
The first I've seen of that was a copy that Dean borrowed to me
Mm-hmm.
with the different, what we should.
And it had already been tabulated?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the first I've seen of it. I didn't really realize that existed.
And again, I didn't even take it. I would have loved to have, but somehow it went even over my head, I missed it.
Okay. Well, didn't ask the questions.
But I think it was a good piece for any individual to take a look at, to say, I like this, I don't like that, and this is the way I'd like to see it. So to whatever value it is, it might be a good reference for you to look at it, to see kind of what this process, this is a process to try to make that vision, and to put it at least into, a future plan. But if you were able to get access to that, maybe it can get tabulated for the next meeting, maybe it can't, I don't know, but.
I gave him my packet information tonight.
So I got-
He has that to chew on.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, the public can submit comments to me at any time that we can incorporate into the packet. So-
Yeah, but the survey in and of itself was already taken and tabulated, because we've got the results from that.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back in December and January.
Yeah.
But we can still take written comments about really anything having to do with the plan. I'd be happy to, we have a webpage that has everything listed. If that's not convenient, I'd be happy to have things printed off for you to be able to pick up.
Maybe
as we
I
go
can get in
further.
touch with you sometime and just have a conversation to
Yes,
get some answers.
just so that you are aware, I don't have office hours right now. I'm on a working maternity leave until mid-May. So we could either set up a phone call, or I can come in if we schedule it ahead of time, but I can still get things printed off. I have an assistant now who's able to help kind of coordinate things while I'm absent. But I'd be happy to work with you. Just feel free to give me a call.
Okay, and I can,
Yeah.
just call them.
Yeah, if you call, I have a direct, so if you call the main line, you would go to planning and zoning, and then it'll go to, it'll ultimately go to my voicemail. You can say in there, I'm sorry, it's a shared voicemail, but you can say in there that you spoke at the meeting tonight, and you'd like to follow up with me, and that'll get forwarded to me, and I'll be able to give you a call from there.
Okay. We're trying to understand how we fit into what's this gonna look like in the next year?
Well, you're in a tough spot, because you're right in the middle of that that whole strip of land that,
Mixed use
We're right on,
commercial.
our driveway is right on the line between the two zoning districts.
yeah.
And I guess one of the questions is, I guess I'm gonna lose access to 30. I have a flag lot. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a garden on there. But I'm pretty sure that we were probably the last consideration with all the decisions whose planning has been done.
Yeah, they never surveyed us about anything.
Well,
It's-
I think we may have got, some of that was possibility of all the rest too, but, we're but two. And then there's Kevin Oswald next door, so there's his thing too, but that's a separate issue. Because he's so differently.
Well, in an area where everything is rezoned, to anything but agricultural and residential, I don't, not having ever had to live in a zone like that, I don't know what your options are. You could always be a stalwart and hold out, but otherwise, I would think that kind of means that there's probably, at some point in time, you're going to become maybe extremely wealthy because your land is going to be worth a whole lot more as commercial or something. But when people don't want to give up their
It
homes,
could go either way.
yeah, well, it could go either way, yeah.
And I have 2.6 acres, or 0.6 acres. If I was at 3, it'd be a better advantage because I don't have a house that's a liability.
Do you want to borrow a bulldozer? I don't want to make light of your situation. It just struck me, because you're right, maybe, I mean, the highest and if the highest and best use of your land is no longer residential, but it is commercial, commercial land generally will sell for a higher value than residential. I mean, from my appraisal experience, I can tell you, and unless you're talking maybe, some sort of, outside rural, small town, situation, that might not always be true. But as it would pertain to you and your property in that location, I would say the highest and best use change is going to work in your favor financially versus trying to sell your place in the future as a 2-acre residential site. Now, how long that's going to take to get to you and how soon will that happen? Again, I don't know who had the crystal ball this meeting, but it could take a couple years. It could, look at, when sewer and water got to us, I'm surprised County Road 30 wasn't the first place it came down. But I think that might have something to do with the water, the water capacity for Maple Grove.
Well, it was that and the lift station that the
And the-
Met Council built first was in the Southeast District.
Yeah, so,
So here's another question.
yes,
We've got the 610 connection to County Road 30 coming up here soon, I would suspect. At what point does County Road 30 west of 101 become a 4-lane?
Yeah, that was my
At what point does that change?
it's funny, this is the envelope I had for the open house for this district. And I'd like to think that I'm somewhat on this, but the last note I wrote on this thing was future County Road 30 into 610. I was dumbfounded when somebody said, oh yeah, County Road 30 is gonna go into 610
That
and,
money's been given to Maple Grove to do it. Do you know where it's coming in?
no. No, I've never seen it.
If you're going east on 30,
Yep,
over 101,
yep,
you go past the development where Jesse Ventura was.
yep.
Make the curve to the right.
Right here,
610 is gonna come in right there,
right there.
and 30 will go up and tee at it on the east side of that holding pond, between the holding pond and the red house.
Are you serious?
It's gonna go right from here and go right around and connect right to there.
So,
So my question.
You know how many
You didn't
times?
put my street in when they put 30 in so I can get in and out of my place.
Good question.
Have you seen it?
I don't know. County Road 30 just has bad luck. I mean, do you know how many times, well, it's been teed.
This is the,
It used to be just a straight road right across the interstate. Back in the day,
Oh, right, yeah.
you got off the interstate, you got off on the bridge, and everything was stop signs, and you went straight across, it was straight line. And then now they've been teeing it, and now it'll never have a straight line anymore. So if you live where I live, or you live, yeah, now all of a sudden you gotta start doing all this weird stuff.
Where do you live?
I live a half mile west of 116 on County Road 30. I live up on Duffney.
Company is, okay. Okay,
Yeah, so I'm on the south side of County Road 30.
on the south side.
Yep. So you're going County Road 30, you get to 116, you're going west. Well, a half mile downhill on the left, that's Duffney. I live up in the cul-de-sac up on top,
Okay. North, but the south side.
on the south side of 30.
South side, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big old farm, well, Colthrati Farm and whatnot, they live, they own the land on the north side of 30.
You're right.
It's all agricultural. Yeah.
So, these are all the questions I have. I won't hold you up any longer.
No, that's,
I
a-
have a lot of questions, but they'll deal more with now.
Yeah, I think that's better route. And then we move back, maybe back, the next one, you won't have so much going on.
well, I mean,
It'll
it,
be sporty for the next few months.
I would also just say as a side, I was a newer resident when I came, and I was surprised at, there is a ton of information on there, and then I would also just make the recommendation as you're gathering more information is to figure out what the Met Council is doing too, because a lot of their decision as a city is governing for the state is what impacts what we end up doing as a city, so.
I don't have a lot of love for Met Council. I didn't vote.
oh, I'm gonna start a club. You can be the first member besides me.
I'll sign on.
Well, there is a
Like I said, I didn't vote
legislative,
for any of them.
Nobody did.
there is legislation that was presented from the representative in Egan to make some reform to the Met Council. So if you go to the website for the House, you can look at whether it goes anywhere or not, I'm not sure, but.
We'll see. Well, thank you much.
And we'll look forward to maybe having you again. The next planning commission meeting is
First
May
Thursday.
5th.
May 5th, and that's when the official public hearing will be. So I would encourage you to attend on May
And then
5th.
the council decides after that.
May.
Yeah, they'll,
26.
26.
Just remember, it's just a plan.
Yeah.
It is not a,
yeah, there's,
it's a
That's why I say I just need to
vision,
understand it.
something. You bet.
Some of those visions go back
Me
to the
too.
past. The 500,000 is northeast of us, isn't it?
Yeah, that went up in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah?
We don't have to go, do we?
no.
Oh,
do
you can
not.
say,
Yeah,
don't worry about you, you
no.
got.
Glutton for punishment.
You want me to go get sandwiches?
Breakfast.
All right.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
You
So
bet.
I'll make my.
Come in.
Okay, and for everybody, disclosure, this is a neighbor in my neighborhood, and I asked him to come tonight because I think he has an issue related to the initial design of a road that impacts that side of my neighborhood, so.
So Jason Howell, I'm at 9470 Duffney Road. I've been there 6 years now, and so I have always known that that field east of me is, at some point, going to be developed, right? And I fully prepared myself to look at houses out that way, but what I didn't prepare is for a road to be running right down that property line. And the other piece of that road that seems kind of unsafe is where that intersection, where we come out of Duffy and that intersection is probably 30 to 40 yards to the east of us. If there's gonna be a stoplight there, that really changes the way that we get in and out of it. That's my deal, is, my reasons with.
Well, and as you and I talked, I think the important thing about these types of plans regarding what district we're talking about, when you put in proposed roads, people will look at that. So if he or any of my other neighbors were thinking of selling, and the planning commission went and recommended approval of this, and the city council then went and recommended to adopt these design plans, well, that might not be the final step, but it's a big step. And people will look at that stuff. if any of those people go to sell their house and do their own due diligence and then come up with that map, it's proposed, but everybody can take it the wrong way. And the value consequences to anybody that's adjacent to it could be significant. And I think the city has an obligation to, as best they can, protect residents who live in rural-type legacy neighborhoods. In any neighborhood, for that matter. I mean, you wouldn't suggest put a road right behind, a whole row of houses that Lennar just built. It would have never been designed that way. Why is it okay to submit a design plan that directly puts a road right along a rural residential? You wouldn't do it anywhere else. It makes no sense to do it. And I think that this process of this meeting, the process of the upcoming next month's public hearing, and then the city council ultimately adopting a plan. If we can't logically come to a conclusion that one specific segment of the road, as it's designed, there's a lot of roads out there, and I don't want to go, evaluate them all. But there's just some things you can visually see, maybe just aren't the right vision. It's not the right plan. And if there's, how many people does it take? Well, this neighborhood, that side of the neighborhood only has 4 houses. So is 4 people coming in? If I say, hey, guys, you all got to get there for the public hearing. And then you're going to have to be here next month for the city council. And you're all going to have to stand up there and you're going to have to give this speech. And at the end of the day, if it still doesn't do anything, then this process fails.
Right.
It fails to take into consideration the interests of those most impacted by those things. And if this is going to constantly be a struggle between the 4 homeowners who own, that quarter-mile stretch on that farmland versus the proposed, 400 homes that Lennar wants to build someday in the future, then where in the world is the city council, the city charter, the city mission, the city vision doing what they can to protect not only the rural character of the city, but where is it protecting the rights of those who have invested their life, their money, their time into creating a lifestyle for themselves, only to have it destroyed because we want to plan for the mass development and we're willing to put roads right in their backyard.
Right. That's
I think it's the most disgraceful thing I can think of. And again, if we can't get from tonight till that meeting and get that road changed, if that's the only thing I really care about, I'm sorry. It's not because I have a direct vested interest. I don't back up to it, but it is my neighborhood. But it just, at face value, I think is the wrong thing to do. It's got the wrong value message. It's got the wrong vision. I don't care what an engineering guy says. It just is wrong. And if that is not evident and it doesn't get changed and it becomes part of the official design guide, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. So, thank you for bringing it up, and I think we're going to be a little too late to have that beer tonight. So.
No, I appreciate the time.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, development's inevitable, and I get that, but a road right through the back of the yard is
Yeah,
not.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
We'll see you this weekend, maybe. All right.
Mr. Chair, the mayor is online and raising his hand.
Can we put him off for a half an hour?
Well, he took public comments. I don't know if he's
No,
trying to pick
I-
the public comment.
Yes, please.
All right, I'm thinking it.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on, we can't hear you if you're talking. 1 second. What is going on? Oh, 1 second. Almost 1 second. Thank you so much for your patience.
Natalie and I can hear you, no one else can yet.
Now try. Oh, no. Okay, it's affecting the audio too.
Oh, maybe you could do the TV.
Oh, ooh, good call. Oh, try again, Mr. Mayor?
How about now?
Yes.
There it is.
Jay for the win.
Perfect.
Our new IT guy.
Just wanted to say quick to the folks that were out, that were just speaking, and to you, Dean, I'm happy to, if they want to grab my card, I'm happy to chat with any of you guys to try to look into that road thing more specifically. So, feel free to give out my number or give out my card there. I'm happy to look into it.
Well, I will, there's a couple neighbors that I scarcely know, and they're the two newest neighbors on that side. The other guy at the end, on County Road 30, he's been there longer than anybody. And while we do a lot of waves to each other, we have rarely ever spoken, but I am going to stop by each one of them, their places, and I'm going to let them know. And if they feel strongly about that, I think then it's up to them to do just like Jason did, come and at least voice their opinion. But I would bet that, now Jason actually knew, he wanted to go to our last open house, but he's got youth in sports, and we all know how youth in sports is. It's a time killer. But I'm going to do my part to at least let those people know, and I will certainly pass on your information as you requested. If they would like to contact you, we'll see what they do.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, and appreciate all the work tonight. This is, you guys still got a few items ahead, but it's been a good meeting, so thank you all for the lot.
Well, I do think though, given the length of our meetings, a popcorn machine and free pop is definitely, hey, come on, that's got to be at least just compensation.
I third that motion.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
All right,
Have a good one.
yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else?
Members of the public online, if you would like to add comments, at this time, we're specifically looking at the Northeast District guidelines that are under discussion. Please raise your hand. You should be able to find the raise your hand function under the reactions tab or menu. And it doesn't look like we have anyone on the phone at the moment, so. Online, I don't see any hands raised.
We have one over
We have a hand raised over here.
Yes, sir.
I'll speak from the public side of things. In 1987, I moved to Maple Grove on 5-acre parcels. The first thing I looked at was the generic road plan and stuff of Maple Grove. 74th is the avenue, or 74th Avenue North. And 78th Avenue North was on the north side of our neighborhood. We all had 5-acre parcels. And the generic drawing that was in Maple Grove's process, kind of like ours, was these are the general roads. But it made more sense than that one road up there next to your neighborhood. 74th went across Lawndale, and then hooked into Bass Lake Road at some point. That road doesn't even do it. It gets to Lawndale and stops. 78th was the same thing. It stopped. So huge amounts of changes. In 20 years, development came up and over the hill, but I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing, Dean. All you guys are seeing, we're getting these large tracts of land being purchased. And in our case, we had 22 neighbors that all had 5 acres. And that large tract of land was purchased. Every house was clear cut. And now it's the 55 and older community across from Rush Creek Golf Course. That's what happened in my neighborhood. But the tracks where you live, the big pieces of land and everything east of Kane Road is open game, but we've got a whole lot of things that gotta happen before all of those.
Who paid the super premium to get that many people out? I mean, not that it maybe matters. Are you telling me that they offered enough money
We also.
to clear out 22 people who own 5-acre parcels?
Yes.
Had to be good offers.
So I mean, it is that crazy. Up here, I haven't heard the number that was offered to us in Maple Grove, but it is nuts, Dean. It was truly nuts. And I moved 5.5 miles straight west on 14 acres. I hope to never see this, but boy, is it starting to roll through our city. But,
Well, when us,
very time consuming to make it happen.
I mean, there are people who are just like, this is getting to the point of, I've had my 27 years here. I've raised a family here. I've loved it. I love being a part of this.
Yeah.
It's like an addiction to me. I've said I was going to stop doing this years and years and years. I've been on this commission so long, I don't even know how long I've been on it. But I'm like, I'm telling, I don't know, man, this is the perfect time to sell my house. Because
Yeah,
because I just think that
crystal ball
as I see change, yeah, I'm ready to put it in my rearview mirror and go somewhere where there's less change, because maybe I'm just not susceptible to change. But, he's now, when he saw that plan a month ago,
Without a doubt.
he started thinking about selling it. And when I started telling him, I go, well, I think you really need to go and get it on the record, because, that's important. And he was like, sure, I'll come up there and,
It's like Bellwether and stuff. All of those parcels to the west are all acreage lots, rural and those kind of things. And I think planning and what has been done so far is those farmers wanted to develop or wanted to sell, they made their money, the developments came in, the roads are in. I always give planning a hard time about ghost platting roads and stuff, because there's so many times they don't go where they're ghost platted, but people expect it. We have that problem down in Ravinia of the parcel in the very corner of 101 and Hackamore Lane. The street was ghost platted by whomever and showed all single-family homes. Well, that's what that neighborhood expects right now. It just, there's so much speculation, so much going on, and I'm just seeing leaps and bounds of what I witnessed in Maple Grove. 20 years for it to get from Cub Foods being built to my property. Took them 20 years. And I moved away and said I would never do this again, and now I'm on the council here. So it is an addiction, but it's a, Kendra, Natalie, disagree with me if I'm wrong. It's a general plan, general locations, things can change, but the likelihood of landowners, people, homeowners and stuff listening to that portion might not happen, so.
yeah. Well, is there anybody else that wants to comment?
Nope.
Thanks for giving me the time.
No problem. Thank you for your input. Like I said, you've got a lot of experience that a lot of us don't have, so.
Another nightmare.
All right, so let's discuss here briefly, how do we want to handle what could obviously be a 2-hour-long conversation? Do we want to sit down? Okay, I'll take any recommendations you would
I was
have.
just going to say, we have developers on the line who've been waiting since 7, so I do feel like we should go through, yes, so we should go through the actual agenda items and leave the Northeast District to the end, because that's the only one that is not subject to the timeline. In fact,
Okay.
one of our developers was here, and apparently she's recovering from an injury, and she left to go home and sit on the phone. So I think we do need to move through the next couple of items and wrap up with the Northeast District plan.
All right, well, thank you for pointing that out. I really, truly was not aware of that. And certainly, we want to get as many people home or in bed as we can here. All right, so the next item up on the agenda is
Thank you.
item 6D, final planned unit development for Bellwether 8th.
We have a
No.
public hearing,
Public hearing for the,
PUD zoning
See.
ordinance amendment.
Okay, I thought the idea, since we're not going to have a lot of public input on this,
We did advertise it as a public hearing, so we would need to at least make a motion to table it.
I think-
so this is something we can table.
Yes, but then keep in mind, we have a couple more PUDs that we would be reviewing again next month. And we have a large agenda next month as well. So it really depends on whether or not you guys want to keep this or not.
This is when you think it'll be a few minutes.
Well,
Let's just take
yeah,
public
can't we just get to D, E, F, and G and do C after all that?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, then that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's move to 6D, the planned unit development for Bellwether 8th. Now, because I see the same issue for Bellwether 9th, can we do these things together at the same time, or is it just one at a time, let's just
You just gotta
knuckle
do them
through?
one at a time, but
Okay.
the nice thing is there's one resolution for each of them, and if you don't want me to do my report, I can skip it. You've got the packet, you've got the resolution for the bellwether, and I'm happy to skip my presentation if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
You know what, because I admittedly did not spend hardly any, if any, time on some of these, because I was putting my efforts into everything else, and it was a busy week even with that. If there's anything, I mean, how long will it take? 5 minutes?
But if I may, I mean, I thought we brought these, I've been doing it in the 5 months I've been doing it, every time we get to these, we say, all we can do is approve it. We have nothing else we can say about it for each one of these, and specifically this motion, this change would mean we would not even see these in the future ever. That's what this means, if it's approved.
No, what that says is you're right, but there will always be circumstances where we should see it. A good example is the Cook Lakes Highland, that when they came for final PUD approval, and they wanted to change the PUD guidelines so that they could get the signs.
Oh, is that where it's like an amendment to the PUD?
Yeah.
That would be specific, so if any of
So
these.
there
would
are
do that.
situations where we do believe, we have a common belief that.
Sure,
No, we don't want to get completely removed from this,
yes,
but if everything is substantially in line,
yes.
you know,
Which I think-
unless they're asking for anything else, listen, if there's, you guys know this. We got 4 of these things. If there isn't anything that's unique, out of line or out of whack, I'm willing to go ahead and say, does anybody want to make a motion to approve it? And we'll skip through the,
Mr. Chair, if we adopt the new proposed amendment to the zoning code, none of these would be in front of you tonight.
there you go.
Okay.
Yes.
What a savings of paper for sure. And
So the
staples.
first item is Bellwether 8th. You can see it on the map. You do have a resolution. We do recommend approval of the resolution as drafted.
This is not the one with the park, is it?
It is. There is park dedication, and I was going to say on 5A, or on condition 5, there is a mistake. Bellwether is only dedicating land. They are not dedicating cash, so we would delete 5C. The rest remains. But this finalizes all of the land dedication for the public park in Bellwether. And we do recommend approval of the draft resolution with the deletion of 5C.
Okay, the brown on this first page, is that a path or is that the boardwalk?
Both.
Okay, so brown just signifies the trail,
Right.
and the stuff that goes over the white on the northeast side of the picture there?
Yep.
That's over the wetland, right? Or no, maybe it's
I
over
think
the
it's
green?
the opposite. I think that's the trail, and then where it goes into the green is the boardwalk.
Gotcha.
And then when it comes out in the white, that's trail again.
Okay, so this is finally going to get built as part of this final plat?
We will own all of the land, and we are continuing to work with Pulte to finalize the boardwalk design.
What, because I'm just curious, just quickly, I don't get into a big discussion. When do we expect that this thing is going to get done?
I do know that this is something on the work plan for the Parks Commission this year, and that they are actively working with Pulte on that boardwalk design, and I believe that means it may happen this year. I am not certain, though, but I know they're actively working on that trail,
Okay.
boardwalk.
Now, I do, and this is past the guideline, but just, one of the things that I've been thinking about was, and we joked about it, but one of the things that perturbs me, or I disagree with, in how this is platted, this particular subdivision, is how we ran that road into Hunter's Ridge. And what was a nice, quiet, dead-end road now has how many homes that will be running down that road? And I remember that was an issue. There was objection to it from the local homeowners, but we've allowed that to happen. And I think that, when I become more involved on a personal note on some of this stuff, and maybe as part of this commission, I'd like that provision to be reviewed. I think the city has an obligation to try to preserve lifestyles that people have carved out for themselves, that exist. And the idea that we allowed this to happen I'm glad I don't live on that road, but if someday they ran it down Duffney Drive, hundreds and hundreds of cars, because what an easy access. What a savings of money, we don't have to build a road. I would be so angry that all of a sudden now, that road is never going to be the same. The neighborhood will never be the same. And that's the kind of thing I think is just wrong. But it's beyond the purview of this. It's platted, it's done. Maybe this is something we can address next time through a review. So I've said my piece. All right, so that was the only change. And there's no more new additional lots or less lots or?
No, that was just an error on my part. The the final PUD plan is consistent with the preliminary PUD plan.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. And now, motion to recommend approval of the final plat and PUD
Correct.
development. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, Natalie, if you don't mind, or if you could tell me where to dispose of it later. So all of these things, recycle?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, our next one is the final plan PUD development for Amberley Second Edition.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will skip ahead on this one like I did on the last one. This is part of the former Van Blaricom property. This is not part of Bellwether. This is the single family in this yellow area. So those are single-family homes, not part of the association, but this phase would plat 51 lots in that Amberley Second Edition. We recommend approval of the draft resolution.
Okay, now the purple is not in the HOA, is it?
No,
Okay, I'll say that would be weird.
no.
Okay,
There is, I should clarify, There is an HOA for Amberley, which the purple and the yellow are in. It is not in the Bellwether HOA.
Oh, okay. They have their own HOA.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. And this is the one that had the architectural upgrades on certain lots that were facing the road and on corners. Everything is good on that?
Yep.
All the issues were resolved? Good?
Well resolved, or there are conditions to ensure compliance.
Okay, great. And everybody's complying with the setbacks, there's no changes? All right, good. I'll make a motion to approve the final plat and the PUD development.
I'll second.
Any questions, further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right, item 6F, planned unit development, final PUD plan for Bellwether 9th edition.
So this is adjacent to Amberley Second. This is the green area. It is part of Bellwether and the Bellwether Association, 37 new lots in that association in this light green area. We have a draft resolution. Again, recommend approval as drafted.
Kendra, just out of curiosity, do you remember what the build-out time was for Bellwether? What they originally kind of projected?
Not 100% sure, but I think the original build-out was 8 years.
So
From
am I correct in my perception that this thing is going exceedingly well and far faster than they had originally planned?
Yes, I believe that is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And they are still pretty much then, well, I mean, with their product and what they're doing there, not really, I don't think that they really designed it or expected that there'd be a lot of market-based changes to floor plans, sizes, counts,
Right.
because they're offering a pretty uniform product from north to south, east to west.
Yep.
And that's why these are pretty uniform. Okay. All right. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the final plat and PUD development for Bellwether 9th?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great.
You know, we're burning through these pretty fast, and I was just wondering if we could go back and double-check the square footage of all the plots, of all the homes.
Oh, my
I think you did mention that on a couple.
You know, on April 1st, that would have really worked well.
You said that with such a straight face, I was like, oh, no.
That was good, Joe. All right. I pulled an April Fool's on my daughter and her future fiance, and while it was really, really funny, it really kind of freaked her out for a while. And she laughs about it. She didn't get angry about it, but oh my goodness. I left so many clues in it that this was a joke.
Oh.
And she just didn't pick up on it. I mean, it's like, okay, I don't know how much more I can make that obvious, but. All right, move on to item 6G, final planned unit development plan for Rush Creek Reserve Second Edition.
Yes, Mr.
So this is one, I know that these folks maybe not be as familiar with. I don't know, would it be wrong to just maybe hear the report?
I feel I read it, and I live down the road from it, so I'm good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I won't speak for you.
I looked over it, I don't know, another
Okay.
development, but.
Mr. Chair,
something
if I
unique
could-
about it?
There is one thing I'd just like to highlight for you.
Okay?
And depending on how things proceed, but a couple things that we did note in here. The main chunk of the trail will be constructed with this phase. We did tell them to stop here because there's a sewer interceptor, and we want to get that built before we finish this connection, which just stubs to the adjacent property. And then we also said that they could defer this fire lane / trail segment until the cul-de-sac is built. This is a mix of single-family townhomes and twin homes. And one of the things we realized as we were going through this is that the twin homes, which we did not have a design of when we did the PUD final plan, because remember, the preliminary plan was Sawgrass,
Yeah.
and then MI picked it up. They did not have a twin home design when they came in. They now realize that the twin homes that they have are too big to comply with the 20-foot building separation, and they're showing the 15-foot building separation that's required by the underlying zoning. We are approving this with the 20-foot building separation between twin home buildings. They have said they will likely come back for a PUD amendment to allow the underlying R3 zoning separation of 15 feet, so they don't have to lose units or redesign their twin homes. I want to highlight that simply because I know the council has said, you should tell us if there's something that doesn't work. And so for today, we're not changing anything, we're sticking with what the PUD requires, and
Which
they
is
will
the
have to
20.
come back and change it later if that's what they choose to do. So I
Okay,
just.
So what you're telling, did I understand this right? So what's happening is they've got a 20-foot separation between the
Right.
units, but they want to come back and say, yeah, but we want to do 15 feet,
Correct,
because that's what code says.
correct.
And so.
Well, mostly because that's what their product type ends up being, and I think the argument will be that's what the code requires. We're not sure exactly why it was 20 feet. I don't remember from the PUD, but
Okay, and these are units that aren't built. This is just on the platted, they didn't actually build these these things 20 feet apart yet.
we did issue a building permit, and the building permit is not showing 20 feet between buildings. And I can't get into tonight all of that. I don't issue building permits, but they do have 2 townhomes that have been issued permits that do not comply with the 20-foot separation.
And they're up already, they're built.
Right. That's a different discussion. I'm only raising
Thank you for highlighting
it
it.
because tonight it's complying with the original approvals. They may come back and either modify the plat or ask the council to do something different. I don't know. I just wanted to highlight that.
But neither, I mean, the council could uphold,
They could, and then they would need to do either modify the final plat for the twin home section or modify their product type.
And they now have
Future
twin
discussion.
homes that are not compliant with the design, because they hit the permits, yeah.
I've been wondering why they haven't done anything with those two.
So it is not the discussion tonight. This late of the hour, I debated mentioning it to you, but I didn't want it to say later that I
I
didn't.
wanted to come back to bite you.
Yes, so that's why I'm raising it, but in terms of this resolution, we recommend adoption of the resolution as drafted, which upholds the preliminary PUD and final PUD standards. It does require them to modify the product type. If they choose not to do that for the twin homes, they would need to either modify the plat to move those unit lots and perhaps lose a building, or ask for a PUD amendment. They have not done that, so we are recommending approval as it's drafted.
okay, and as a PUD amendment, then it would come back to us.
It may, we got to get to that item.
I know, but under the proposal, then that would be a situation that would come back to us.
It would not, because right now, under the code.
Well, I thought a PUD amendment would come back to us.
Okay, this is where it gets tricky. Currently, you guys only review PUD amendments when it is coming through with the final plat. If it's something that's, final PUD. When it's something that's already been established as a final PUD, the city council is the only body that reviews PUDs. So the zoning amendment that I proposed didn't grant you any additional processes that you have. It's retaining the processes that you do have. Now, if that's a change you'd like to recommend, we can certainly, you can make that motion. I can add that into what gets forwarded to council. There are some items that we have handled as PUD amendments in the past that really have nothing to do with the planning commission, such as grading issues. So that's why I kind of want, and that was a time-sensitive issue, and with a lot of back and forth, and was ultimately a policy call. So that's why I was tentative to make a change that it would always go back to planning commission, but we could,
Put some parameters.
yeah, we could put some parameters in there. And again, it would be difficult to work out the language tonight necessarily, but if we get the idea of what you want in there across, then I can take care of that and get that.
But we wouldn't get it today, is what you're saying.
No, correct.
Correct. Yeah, you wouldn't
So
get it
we
today.
wouldn't know they're happening today anyway. I see.
Correct.
Yeah.
May I, just one question, I know there's a right and a left turn lane into this particular development. How does that coincide if recommendation for approval goes forward to grant the additional building? Like, what is the timeline for that? I'm just thinking about the traffic on that small stretch of 10 right now that goes in and out of this development. I thought there was, maybe I could absolutely be wrong, but I thought there was a right turn off of that, like County Road 10, and a left turn eastbound on County Road 10 planned for going in and out of this development.
And I also believe that is correct. But the question is, timing of that, I am not sure.
I will just, we don't need to answer that question. I'll just flag it as a comment because it'll make its way. But it's a heavy amount of traffic to be putting on that little stretch that's right where 10 and 50 are already converging, and you've got traffic slowing down to 30. And so I would just like council to consider that when approving whether or not more traffic is coming in and out of that area, along with the timeline for those improvements. So that's just my comment.
So are there outlots that are part of this?
Yes, the final plat, which you're not reviewing, but there are outlots for future phases.
Okay. Okay.
So the blue is the final phase, phase 3 on the screen. And those are outlots now.
Okay. So the recommendation is to approve, no material changes. I might just keep this and just read it further at home some other day, just so I become more familiar with what's going on there. This is my own. All right. Motion to approve the final plat and PUD plan for Rush Creek Reserve Second Edition.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. All right, we are now kind of made hash out of this agenda tonight, haven't we? All right, so, we still have open item 6C and item 6H. Does anybody have a preference? We've already started 6H, but we could probably knock off 6C to get kind of back on the railroad tracks, so. This is a public hearing, but we'll hear the staff report and go from there.
Mr. Mr. Chair, I will keep it nice and quick. So the PUD zoning ordinance amendment is being brought to you based on discussions that the Planning Commission has had several times in the last year as final PUD development plans come through. There seems to be a desire to remove some of the redundancy in our approval process. So the request would revise section 1040.140 of our zoning ordinance to update the review process for final PUD development plans and PUD amendments. Basically, we would be removing Planning Commission review of any final PUD plans found to be in substantial conformance with their preliminary approvals. The exception to this would be when a PUD amendment is requested in the final development plan that was not requested in the preliminary approvals, retaining the discretion that you have today. So this is basically the language that we would be removing, which is the requirement to schedule Planning Commission review first, and then adding the review requirements to the City Council's duties. And then this is the language we would be adding to clarify that PUD amendments between the preliminary and final plat do need to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and forwarded to the City Council. And this would, so basically, as you said, Chair, Cook Lake Highlands, that situation would be still in front of you in the future. And then it's just some formatting changes to account for the new paragraph being added. And next slide. So staff recommends approval of the draft ordinance amending these sections and a draft resolution approving findings of fact. And let me know your questions.
Okay. I don't know if this is a unrelated issue or if it's addressed in this amendment. Cook Lake Highlands.
I apologize, we do need to open and close the public hearing. I forgot.
Oh, I'm
to add my
sorry.
recommendation. I'm so
So
sorry.
did I.
That's
All
my
right, at this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak?
Members of the public, to raise your hand online, please utilize the raise your hand function under the reactions tab. Or if you're on your phone, press *9 to raise your hand. And no one's raising their hand.
Oh, did you say something? Just kidding. We'll give a few seconds.
Seriously?
I know as much as I would really just love to run this over and move forward as quickly as possible, I want to give everybody, just a few seconds just to. Is there anybody even online? You can tell that, right?
Surprisingly.
You
can see
it
right there.
On the right-hand side.
Oh,
I mean, Jessica,
oh.
Tom.
Who? So that's the Ben Q, and then he,
I know, I'm fading
Commissioner
fast.
Gann, and
It's
All right.
I didn't realize.
Okay.
Yeah, our goes off at 5:45.
I'll take being that there doesn't look to be anybody who wants to speak on this issue, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
We'll just
Public hearing
go
closed.
faster.
Okay, commission discussion and recommendation. When the planning commission at the last Cook Lake Highland review, we denied it on the basis that we had denied it before. Okay? And there was that issue with the signs, and its location, and its size, and everything, which certainly is a good topic for purview by this commission for a recommendation to the city council. And by the fact that I think I failed in our duty to address that specific issue, and we left the city council hanging on it. I don't know if you guys saw the city council meeting, But because we did not make a recommendation on the signs and their locations and stuff, the city council had to deal with that issue. And it was like watching a PUD because there was a trail issue. All of a sudden in the final plat, there wasn't a trail where the residents, next door thought there would be. And so there was this like negotiation going on between it. And I realized at that point, and I told the council that I think we overlooked that issue. And as a result of coming to the conclusion that, well, we were just going to deny this thing based on principle of what we had done in the past, we still neglected to give them the input that why it came back to us in the first place, which was the PUD amendments. And so they ended up handling it. Now, how does what happened there in that instance, and maybe again, it was just my fault, and we need to pay more attention to it, because I hope that never has to happen again, but how does that get maybe registered or addressed in this particular thing again? So, again, in an example, I think we have, and this happened with the substation, the second location, that we were going to deny this thing, but we failed to give necessary feedback. So, when an item comes back under the proposal here, on a final PUD plat, and there is a PUD amendment, which is, again, why it would come to us. If the council, if this commission, is there a way maybe to change how that looks? Because what we got was basically a whole fresh report. And we got the resolutions. And whatnot. So I'm kind of thinking, very much like what happened in the substation tonight. What came to us tonight was a very limited scope review that was needed on our part without having to rehash all of the particulars of why we were, what we were reviewing. And there was no official recommendation, although we could do that. So, in other words, can we get those reviews, but only limit the discussion and the feedback that we give to the city council? Because again, we've already felt we've done our work, and we can't affect change. So there's no sense giving us a whole packet and then going, well, yeah, you didn't approve it last time, why would we do it again? But, hey, specific, regardless of the fact that you as a commission, gave the recommendation to deny something, doesn't mean that you still don't have opportunity to input this, and that should not interfere with that process. Does any of that make sense at
Yeah.
12:12?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think ultimately what you're trying to say is when a PUD amendment such as when a PUD amendment is proposed in the final development plan, you would like the report presented to the council to be specifically focused on the PUD amendment and to limit that scope? Is that what I'm hearing? So that you can have a focused discussion on the flexibility that's
Well-
being requested?
Well, look,
Yeah, when
You
it,
said
yeah.
council.
if the.
Oh, I'm sorry,
If the
commission,
change for one of these things was they wanted to change and they add 4 more units, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, we don't get the whole packet and all the drawings. We get everything related to just
The 4 units.
the 4 units. Here's a staff report on that, and here's where they are. And then we just say, you know what, as a commission, we voted on it, and we recommend to okay that or to deny that. Kind of like what you just went through with the, maybe someday we don't get it, but let's assume that we were deciding whether or not, let's grant the 15-foot setback versus the 20-foot. And we just deal with that issue. We don't talk about all the other stuff that goes with it. And maybe there's no resolution at all. It's just a simple, here was the voted, or the recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I think we could definitely focus the reports onto the flexibility that's being requested as a part of the PUD amendment that is being presented in front of you. The only danger I see in that is if there's any flexibility, if there's anything you want to negotiate in exchange for that flexibility, if we're just looking at a very narrow plan.
When you say negotiate, are you talking about kind of like, well, you give us,
Well,
you give us, or we'll give you the setback requirement, but you give us, what, more trees or better lights or something like that?
Exactly, 'cause
Is
then-
that really our role to negotiate that?
Well, you did that with Ray Hennepin, and it wasn't a PUD.
I know, but that,
But I'm just saying that PUD, that is expected to have some kind of negotiation, and so my only concern is if we focus it specifically on the request, which we can do. I don't think there's anything in the code that prevents a limited report to be presented to the commission. It's just without some of the other information, you might not be in a position to make a recommendation as to what you would like to see in exchange for the new flexibility. Because once they request new flexibility, it's up for the negotiation, basically.
But are we suggesting putting, sorry, it's late, I probably got
Right,
to leave.
yeah.
I'm like, kind of, like, get nervous
Okay.
driving. I don't know that this discussion, in my opinion, changes this proposal. You're just saying, when you do give us the information, can you help us know what the heck has changed? At least highlight it in some way. It's very clear exactly why this amendment is coming before us.
And we-
But I don't think it changes the request. So like, potentially, we could move forward with this, and
Work the
this is a
details
discussion,
out.
like, hey, you know what, can we try to have a targeted, like, highlight changes?
Yes.
That would be super helpful.
Yes, and we can definitely discuss that further, and I don't see a problem with that.
all right, so does anybody have any other questions or discussion on the ordinance amending the text?
Oh, I didn't have anything.
All right. Does anybody would like to put forth a motion to approve the zoning ordinance amendment?
I will put the motion forward to approve.
And I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, all right, let's just take 30 seconds. Does anybody need a break?
No,
Okay.
a break is,
Okay. All right, what do we expect to get? Let's talk about our last new business item H. Given the time, do we want to have open discussion about this, or do we want to provide our own written feedback to staff sometime in the very near future?
Mr. Chair, given the time tonight and the fact that I think people are losing it fairly at 12:17, I think it would be reasonable to ask commissioners, I would have liked a robust discussion as a group,
Yeah.
but if you can individually share your comments with Natalie, and then maybe she can share them back with the group, I'm not sure how that might work, but if you could provide comments to her about things you have questions about things you'd like to see changed. We obviously heard your road concerns, but if there's other things, then we can bring them to our group, including Hennepin County and the engineering team, evaluate them, and then be prepared to respond at the public hearing on the 5th.
Okay, now, to help along that process of our comments, would it make sense for us to get, I know I have the survey in this file that I got at the open house. I think that's a good guide for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, was that not in the packet? I
It
thought
is in the
was-
packet.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
It is?
yep.
yes.
Oh, yeah, it is. I think what we should do is each and every one of us kind of go through these items at the very first stroke of a brush, go through and answer that yourselves.
Oh, I did take the survey when it was
Well,
out.
no, but you did it as a private citizen.
Sure, yes.
Okay, now you're doing it as a planning commission member.
Yes.
And so what we each are collectively doing is going through our own personal preferences as well as the results of this public survey, and we're going to give a consolidated vote by 5 people as to what we prefer in each one of those categories with some notes. Then they can highlight, you can summarize that, and then maybe we could go on does that sound?
Well, I mean, I think the survey is helpful, but at this point, we have a public hearing on the draft, so I'd really hope if there's things about the draft specifically. So I was gonna,
And when you're saying draft, you're talking about this draft.
well, that's the staff report, but behind the
This
staff report is,
Oh.
yes,
Starts
that.
here.
Yes, so we talk about things like landscaping, a preferred tree list. I know Heidi Highland's been sitting on
Yeah.
the phone for a few hours here. We'll reach out to Heidi, I think, separately. But we have established a preferred tree list. You've wanted to see that for a while. We established standards saying this is a sustainable type of a development, so we've got some electric vehicle charging station requirements. Do you like that? Do you like them more to be guides? We've got some uses that we don't think fit with our gateway, job creation types of businesses that we want in this area of the city. So really what would be helpful is to start to get some questions from you or feedback from you on that draft document.
Okay,
Appendix C, I think.
I gotcha. All right,
Because that's what the public hearing is on next month. And we will need to move it forward next month because we do have to bring it to the council meeting on the 26th before the moratorium ends. So I'm
well,
sorry we're out of time.
can I ask why that's so important?
Because without this, we could get development applications that are entirely contrary to what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, groovy.
And so ideally, what time frame would you like those comments and questions to be sent by so that there's
I
adequate time?
think if we could get them by the end of next week, we can incorporate them in our staff discussion on the 20th of April, and then make any changes to bring back to you.
Okay.
It's Good Friday, but it's still okay for us to just be sending it.
Yeah, we'll probably collect them on Monday.
All right, that's the way we'll handle it then, and I don't know what next month's schedule looks like, but
It's busy.
we got to do something about, and again, if it's my fault, I'll take the whole rap for it, but we got to do something to try to maybe put these things in an order in which we can get the most out of it. And this is an important issue, and because it's a public hearing, I would suggest that maybe we put this at the top of the list. Because since we kind of short-circuited it a little bit tonight. But you folks certainly do an excellent job at prioritizing our agenda.
We have 5 public hearings next month.
No way.
Yep. So it's no joke.
When are we starting at, 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
This is one of them. We have the Pulte-Walcott Glen proposal, which is the Hackamore and 116 corner. We've got Karenimi Meadows, which is the Rolke property behind City Hall plat. We've got a CUP for a garage with a higher sidewall than is allowed, and a plat and a variance to subdivide the property that was part of Rush Creek, one of the Rolling Hills subdivisions that we did a few years ago. So, there are items with significant discussion, so I think, going to be another tough meeting. And it feels like the development items should be first, but we can certainly talk about.
At some point, I don't know how we be transparent, and if it takes long, it takes long. So, All right. I don't want to get into that bowl of soup. I'm sure you guys will come up with a reasonable order for which we can conduct business.
Staff's got to do everything too to make sure that the system's working.
Yeah, we did get a 20-minute.
Yeah.
We did get a 20-minute late jump here, but not that would have made it. Okay.
Still gotta work.
Yes.
Okay, we still then have item 7. Planning project update, city council report, and other business. Now, we know that there's no other business. City council report and the planning project update are printed materials in our packet. May I suggest to the commission that if you have anything, and we'd love to hear from council member liaison Varenkamp in the best interest of everybody involved, if you have any questions or comments, I'm sure he'd be glad to answer them at a different time.
Give me a call.
Perfect.
Okay.
I do start my new job, 18th of April. My phone.
Okay. You're not working the night shift, right?
No,
Okay, so if we want to call you at 10:30 at night, that'd
wide
be
open.
okay? Okay.
Thank you guys for what you did tonight. I know it, I've said it in the past, if it was easy, somebody else would be doing it, but we gotta figure out a way to make this a little easier.
Item 8, Commissioner Liaison Calendar. We got Lanterman on the 14th, Jim on the 28th, and Jay, you're on the 12th.
Yep.
Anybody have any, without Lanterman being here, I assume everybody can stick to, all right, so we don't need to make any adjustments. All right, with that, I will gladly accept a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
I got a couple more questions.
Motion made, son. Motion made.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.